Yes! What is up, everyone, and welcome to the official preview of the round of 16 of my favorite competition in the world, the Champions League. And I'm going to break down every matchup, which in theory should make you smarter, so you're welcome. And then I'm going to give you my predictions, which, if you're into gambling, should make you richer. Also, in case you hadn't heard before, because I rarely mention it and because I'm super humble, I'm a prediction god. Also, I know most of you are going to be like, but the January transfer window hasn't happened yet, depending on when you watch this, and so many things are going to change between now and then. Listen, the January transfer window sucks now. Last year, what happened? Nothing, nada, nil, zilch, because no teams want to make a deal to help someone else and hurt themselves in the middle of the season. Those days are over. And if somehow two clubs do figure something out, like let's say Christian Pulisic to Chelsea when Dortmund sold him last January, knowing he wouldn't leave until the summer, I feel like that's the new trend. Anyway, because I believe the January transfer window will make no discernible difference for any of these teams, let's get after this right now. I'm going to give you 3 intriguing storylines for you to follow per matchup, and then 2 reasons why each team could win before finally offering up my one never wrong prediction. And first up is Borussia Dortmund, who are currently in 4th in the Bundesliga, 7 points off the top, and PSG, who are currently in 1st in France's league, by 7 points over 2nd place Marseille. And the 3 most compelling storylines for me in this matchup are: 1, Dortmund facing PSG's manager Thomas Tuchel for the first time after they fired his ass in 2017 due to a huge fallout he had with the Black and Yellow's management over broken promises and control. So you know Tuchel is going to want to smash his former club, and thankfully for him, he has a team that could do that. And 2 is about Neymar, because which version of him are PSG going to get? The game-changing, teammate-loving, unselfish one that's been on fire since he returned from injury? Or the one that always seems to get hurt in February around the same time of his sister's birthday, so he can't be bothered. And finally, number 3, this will be a display of 2 of the best young players in the world, PSG's Kylian Mbappe and Dortmund's Jadon Sancho, so it'll be interesting to see who ends up being more influential over these 2 legs. Now, the easy money here is on Mbappe, but Sancho can change games all by himself too. Okay, now that you have some context, let's talk about the 2 reasons why each team is going to win, and we're going to start with Dortmund. And first, I like the resolve this season. They weren't expected by many to get out of a Champions League group that included Barcelona and a much improved Inter Milan. And after going down 2-0 to Inter at home, and this was the pivotal moment for them in the group stages of the Champions League, they scored 3 in the second half to win 3-2, and now they find themselves in the round of 16. Second is their captain Marco Reus, because when the 30-year-old is healthy, Dortmund always play better, and it's been like that for years because he's their glue, someone they can rely on in any situation. However, there are 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and Marco Reus getting hurt. And since he hasn't suffered a significant injury yet this season, it could still happen, though as I'm saying this, he's currently out with a muscle injury, so hopefully I didn't jinx him and it becomes even worse. And as for PSG, well, first the Parisian Giants were able to prove in this season's Champions League that their defense can be just as good as their attack, as they kept 5 clean sheets and conceded just 2 goals in 6 group stage games, which proves what we've known all along, that PSG's recent signing goalkeeper Keylor Navas, and not Cristiano Ronaldo, was more responsible for Real Madrid winning the Champions League 3 times in a row. And second, Dortmund aren't PSG's biggest threat. PSG are the biggest threats to themselves, so if they can just get out of their own way, play to the height of their capabilities, which isn't easy, every club has to figure that out, and not overthink it or overcoach in a desperate attempt to get revenge on their former club, and Thomas Tuchel, I'm looking at you, or have long memories about choking in the second leg like they famously did against Barcelona a few years ago, or against Manchester United last season, they should be fine. So my prediction? PSG wins this 5-3 over 2 legs. And next up is probably the most anticipated matchup of this round. It's the winner of 4 out of the last 6 Champions Leagues, Real Madrid, versus the back-to-back defending Premier League champions, Manchester City. So let's get to the 3 storylines. And at number 1, it has to be the fact that this will be the first ever managerial meeting between Madrid's Zinedine Zidane and City's Pep Guardiola, which I find pretty surprising because I just assumed that they had faced off before. So this should be a great battle of wits and tactics. 2, since leaving Chelsea for Madrid over the summer, this will mark the return to England of Eden Hazard, who developed into one of the world's best players during his 8 years in the Premier League. so we'll see if he's healthy and up for it. I think he will be. And 3, Manchester City has spent more money on players since Pep has been in charge than any other club in the world, with the intent of winning this competition and being crowned the champions of Europe. But it is yet to happen, and I think everyone secretly loves it, besides everyone that works and supports City, of course. Assuming you know somebody that supports City. I don't know anybody that supports City. Do they really even exist? Anyway, now for the 2 reasons why each team will win, starting with Real Madrid. Well, first, this core of players from Madrid has climbed the Champions League mountain before, multiple times. They've gotten to the top, and they said, wow, what a view. It looks great here, being on top of Europe. They're proven winners, is what I'm trying to say, and I can't tell you how far that type of confidence can take a team. And second, Madrid have been quietly getting better and better with every game this season. And with the emergence of some of their younger players like Fede Valverde, who has been a revelation in the middle of midfield, and Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. mixed in with their older stars playing very well, in particular Karim Benzema, who has been on fire. The guy has taken it to a whole nother level. Then I expect this trend to continue for Madrid, so I tip them to be the slight favorites in this matchup. But before I get into prediction mode, let's talk about City and their 2 reasons as to why they can win. And first, they have everything that they need to do it. The experienced manager, the superstar players, the support staff, the bottomless pit of money. It is all there, well, except injuries, which is the one thing out of their control, and it must drive them crazy. And it's crushed them this season, actually, especially at the center back position. So unless that changes with another purchase or 2 in the January transfer window, which I don't see happening, or if stud defender Aymeric Laporte can magically heal quicker than expected from his serious knee injury, which I don't see happening either, then maybe they won't win. But they still could because they're that talented. And second, I know I'm supposed to say something positive here, like as long as Sergio Aguero and Kevin De Bruyne score 10 goals each and Ederson stands on his head in goal, they're gonna be fine. But instead, I kind of want to keep wanting to say something negative. And that's desperation, because Pep looks desperate to win this competition, to prove that he can win it without having Leo Messi in his team, which is something that he's never done. And it's not a good look, frankly. I feel like he's trying too hard. So with this in mind, I like Madrid to win, which means they're probably going to lose, because over the last few years, if you've been paying attention to my channel at all, every time I pick Madrid to lose, they win. So my sincere apologies to all of you Madridistas out there who I guarantee are hating me at this exact moment. And up next is Atalanta, who are currently the 5th best team in Italy, taking on Valencia, who are currently the 7th best team in Spain, which leads me to my first storyline. How the hell did Atalanta, who lost their first 3 games in their first ever Champions League group stage appearance, qualify for the knockout rounds? And how did this relatively inconsistent this season Valencia win their group, which included Chelsea and last year's semifinalist Ajax? I mean, what? 2, with everything I said in number 1, one of these 2 clubs is gonna make it to the quarterfinals, and I think that's pretty cool. And 3, this matchup is gonna finally shine some light on some players that don't get the love that they deserve, like Valencia's number 10, Dani Parejo, who has been one of the best players in La Liga this season, and Atalanta's top striker Duvan Zapata, who I'm surprised is still with the club. I thought for sure someone would have bought him already. He's so talented. And now here are the 2 reasons why I think Atalanta will win. 1, because they shouldn't, which I liken to when Leicester won the Premier League, because they really have no business of being in this position, but they keep doing what they have to do to get results, and that's all that matters. And second, I'm a big fan, a giant fan, a huge fan of their manager, Gianpiero Gasperini, who's not only led his club to being the 4th in chances created in the top 5 leagues in Europe, which is a ridiculous stat for him and his team. They're only behind PSG, City, and Bayern, but he also has them as the highest scoring team in all of Italy this season too. So in short, I think he is fantastic at what he does. And as for Valencia, well, first, they got players that make plays. After coaching the San Francisco Glens last season in the 4th division in this country, that's the type of player I thirsted for. Players that want responsibility, who make decisions quickly, and who are willing to make the f***ing plays that matter on both sides of the ball. Like, for example, in Valencia's case, Kevin Gamero. Go on, Gamero. Now, most of you are well aware of how much I love this dude on career mode, but in real life, he's a winner too, a game changer. He's the best, and I think he can be a difference maker in this matchup. And second, they have a former MLS player, Albert Celades, managing them, which automatically makes him a genius, because anyone with MLS playing experience instantly is a genius in my book. So forget what I said about Gasperini. Celades is the guy. However, with regard to my prediction, I'm sure both of these teams were pleased with their draw, because they have to think they have a beatable opponent. However, as much as I don't want to discount the run that Atalanta is on, it has been special. There's just something about Spanish clubs in European competitions. So I'm going with Valencia in this one. I think they're going to take them down. And wow, this next one is going to be special as Atletico Madrid take on Liverpool, which is a battle of two of my favorite managers in the game, Diego Simeone versus Jurgen Klopp, both of whom are master tacticians who also have players that would lay on railroad tracks for them. That's how much they're loved and adored and respected by their own players, which I guess is its own storyline, but I'll give you three more just for fun. One, Klopp has arguably built the best attack in the world, while Simeone has arguably built the best defense in the world. So this is definitely one of those moments where an unstoppable force is going to run into an immovable object. Two, as I mentioned in my quick reaction video to the Champions League draw when I was on my way to New York City, if you remember that, this is a big moment for Atleti's young superstar in the making, Joao Felix. They paid 126 million euros to purchase him from Benfica over the summer, which is something, frankly, that I never thought Diego Simeone would do. Pay over 100 million on one player? That just seems to go against everything that he stands for. But he did it, and now, even if he's young, this is where Atleti need Joao Felix to shine, to validate why they spent that much money on him. So we'll see how he handles the pressure. And three, while Atleti get a 2-week break from games at the end of December and into the beginning of January, which gives them some much-needed rest from the grind, Liverpool have no break and are playing 3 games over that same time span, which could really come into play when they're trying to wear down a tireless Atleti team. Those legs could get heavy, and that could prove costly. And that almost sounds like I'm getting into a prediction, but I'm not there just yet because we got to talk about the 2 reasons why each team is going to win. And we're going to start with Liverpool first, and it's easy. 1, they're the defending champions, and they were in the final the season before that too. So if any team knows what it takes to balance a tough schedule and tired legs and mental fatigue, it's these guys. And 2, they won the final last season at Atleti's home stadium, the Wanda Metropolitano. So I imagine they're going to have a lot of positive feelings when they go back instead of feeling intimidated like most clubs that come and visit. And as for Atleti, well, when Simeone took the job, they've made it out of the group stages 5 out of 6 times. And in all 5 times, they've been knocked out of the competition by Cristiano Ronaldo, who did it 4 times with Real Madrid, including 2 finals, which is still heartbreaking for Atleti fans, and last season with Juventus. So great news, everyone that supports Atleti. Cristiano Ronaldo is not on Liverpool. And second, we got to talk about Atleti's goalkeeper Jan Oblak, who might not be having his best season by his incredibly lofty standards, but he's still rightly considered as one of the best goalkeepers in the world, if not the best, which is evidenced by him only giving up 11 goals in 18 La Liga games so far. So if he stands on his head over these 2 legs, which is not outside the realm of possibility, Atleti have more than enough to pull out a victory. Anyway, as for my prediction, if they played right now, I'd go with Liverpool, of course, because they're on fire. But in 6 weeks' time, well, I think I'm still gonna have to go with Liverpool, if only because they have a big lead at the top of the table in the Premier League, so there's less pressure on them than there would be, let's say, if Manchester City were right on their heels. And I don't know if you saw this or not, but the schedule favors Liverpool as well over Atleti. They play Norwich before leg 1 and Bournemouth before leg 2, so they can rest some of their key players before these big midweek matches. Whereas with Atleti, they have Valencia before leg 1 and Sevilla before leg 2, and that sucks. However, if Atleti did pull off the upset, I wouldn't be surprised either. And next up is currently in 4th place in the Premier League Chelsea, taking on currently in 3rd place in the Bundesliga Bayern Munich, which leads me to my first storyline. Anytime Bayern plays an English club from London in European competition, they kick their ass. Well, that is after the 2012 Champions League final when Chelsea beat them in penalties in Munich. And thank you, Didier Drogba, for adding all of that drama. What a game that was. But after that, it's been all Bayern. Arsenal, Spurs, both of them have given up 10 goals over 2 games to these guys since then. So we'll see if the youthfulness of club legend Frank Lampard's side is up for the task. The second storyline is Chelsea's back 4. They're not good. They've only gotten 5 clean sheets in 28 games in all competitions this season, which is pretty stinky. And Bayern Munich have Robert Lewandowski. The guy is the leading goal scorer in the Champions League, and they also have Arsenal's favorite son, Serge Gnabry, who has been a revelation since he started playing regularly in the first 11 for Bayern. So I expect him and Lewandowski and all the attacking players for Bayern to be up for this. And finally, the third storyline is that Chelsea's transfer ban got lifted. So I'll slightly take back what I said at the start because Chelsea is the one team that I could see going strong for someone in January now, specifically for a center back or 2 or 3. And if they end up getting someone of consequence, that would and could potentially change my prediction, but I doubt it. And yes, I know I'm supposed to say the 2 reasons why each team will win, and Chelsea could point to Bayern struggling this season, which has led to the firing of their manager or then manager Niko Kovac, but they've righted the ship. They won 3 straight games before this winter break. Well, Bayern could also say that Chelsea is struggling with consistency right now too, and they would be right, because Chelsea are struggling. But let's be honest, let's get right to it. The difference maker, the one person that's gonna change this whole matchup is Robert Lewandowski. The guy is a machine. He's gonna put Bayern on his back, and he's gonna make it happen. And maybe in a one-off, I would say Chelsea have a chance, but over 2 legs, I think their weaknesses are gonna be exploited, and I think Bayern are gonna make them pay. And now listen to this. We got 12th place in Ligue 1 in France, Lyon, taking on the best team in Italy until proven otherwise, Juventus. So based on current form, what's to preview or predict here? Also, 2 of Lyon's brightest stars, Jeff Renadelaide and Memphis Depay, tore their ACLs in the same game a few weeks ago. They're both out for 6 months. And I mean, let's be honest, even if Lyon had everyone healthy, they would still be huge underdogs in this matchup. And then if you take into consideration that Lyon don't have the resources to go buy anyone in the January transfer window, plus given their 12th place spot in the league, which I mentioned before, they got some work to do domestically. So I'd like to think that finishing in the top 4 in their league might take precedence over giving everything that they have to beat the mighty Juve. Especially a Juve with the best player in Champions League history on their team in Cristiano Ronaldo, who we all know has to be super pissed, whether he's showing it or not, that his big rival Leo Messi won his 6th Ballon d'Or, which gives him 1 more than Ronaldo has, who currently sits on 5. So Ronaldo has to know that if he wants to win his 6th and be tied with Messi again, he's gonna have to win this competition and maybe beat Messi along the way to make it happen. And also, having a good run with Portugal in the Euros this summer too probably wouldn't hurt. But still, the one thing I've learned about Cristiano, the more you doubt him, the more he proves you wrong. So I think he's gonna take out his frustration and anger on Lyon. Yeah, kinda sucks for you, Lyon. So I got Juve easily taking care of things in this matchup. And now it's time for a matchup with the special one as Jose Mourinho leads Tottenham, which is still kinda weird to say out loud. And it's even weirder seeing him on the sidelines coaching Spurs. It just doesn't seem real. Well, he's taking on a special one in 32-year-old Julian Nagelsmann, who is now in charge of Bundesliga leading RB Leipzig after a few years at Hoffenheim. So to get back to our storyline, since I got a little off track in our last matchup, let's start with what I was just alluding to. It's the grizzled veteran Mourinho, who won his first Champions League trophy when the baby-faced youngster Nagelsmann was just 16. So this is young versus old, Padawan versus Jedi Master, hopeful and enthusiastic versus bitter and worn down. That was first. Second, both of these managers have very strong defensive mindsets that can be devastating in attack if you allow them. So it'll be interesting to see how they try to counter each other's counter-attacking tactics. Try to say that 10 times fast. Counter-attacking tactics, counter-attacking tactics, counter-attacking tactics. So maybe that's not that hard. And third, and this one is a bit cliche to say, so I'm reluctant to say it, but both of these teams do have 2 of the best strikers in Europe in their team, so if they score their opportunities, they should win, right? That's how it works. Spurs have Harry Kane, of course, and Leipzig have Timo Werner, who for all of the praise I showered on Robert Lewandowski earlier, Werner's only 1 goal behind him for the league lead in the Bundesliga. Lewandowski has 19 to Werner's 18, which is super impressive. So maybe these 2 legs against a Premier League team could be his big coming out party to the rest of Europe and the world. Anyway, as for the 2 reasons that Spurs will win, 1, they got Jose Mourinho, and the man is a master at one-off competitions. And 2, Heung-min Son is playing out of his mind this season, and somehow, some way, he continues to get better. Well, Dele Alli has been reborn. He's had a renaissance since Jose arrived. So if they can buy a proper goalkeeper in the transfer window, because their second string, Paulo Gazzaniga, who is filling in for reigning World Cup champion Hugo Lloris, he just isn't cutting it, then they could make another run to the final. But if they don't figure out a way to solve that problem, it could be a struggle. As for why Leipzig will win, well, 1, Spurs have Jose Mourinho. And the last time he was in the round of 16 of this competition, it was with Manchester United in their 2 legs against Sevilla, which they deserve to lose, by the way. Conversation for another time. But it was the worst 180 minutes that I've seen in recent memory, and I wish I could sue someone to get that time in my life back. It was that bad. So I just think that Mourinho sometimes overthinks, overcoaches, and just overdoes it overall, which Leipzig could use to their advantage. And 2, Leipzig have the second leg at home, which I think they can use to their advantage, assuming they get a good result in leg 1, which I think they will, because if you didn't know this or not, they've only lost one game away from home all season. So for my prediction, dude, this is a coin flip for me. I've been a staunch Mourinho supporter for many years and always will be to a certain extent, but if he's going to come out as stubborn Jose and leave his most creative players on the bench like Christian Eriksen and Eric Lamela, you know, the guys that can actually move the ball through midfield consistently, not like those other guys, I think you know who I'm talking about, Sissoko, Winks, and Dyer, then I don't like Spurs if he goes with those kind of plotting guys. They're not plotting players. They're kind of plotters. But if he wants to be fun Jose and start those guys from the beginning, I like Spurs to do the business and to win and to get through this. So we'll have to wait and see how and what Jose does. And finally, it's the we just fired our manager who's won the Champions League 3 times, but whatever, it's no big deal, we'll be fine. Napoli, taking on a Barcelona team that still succeeds despite their manager Ernesto Valverde not really seeming up for the job. In fact, I always get the sense that he's in over his head. Anyway, here are my top storylines. You guys ready for this? I'm ready for this. 1, Napoli hired Gennaro Gattuso, who I adore, I really do. He's the midfield general that every team needs on the field. He has an incredible work rate, he's vocal, he holds people accountable, which is very important, he's high energy, but I'm not sure that those qualities always work on the sideline as a manager, so this was an interesting hire for me because in some ways, it feels like they took a step down from Ancelotti to Gattuso. 2, these two teams played against each other twice in preseason, and I was at the first one when I signed with Barca. Do you remember that? No? You don't? Well, here's the pic to prove it. Suckers. So I think there's going to be a level of comfort, this is what I wanted to say, between both sides, but I think Barcelona has the better players, and I think Barcelona knows it. Which means Barcelona just has to play better, including the recently named best player in the world, Leo Messi, and his teammates Luis Suarez and Antoine Griezmann, who I don't think has hit his peak yet for the club, and arguably the best goalkeeper in the world, Mark ter Stegen, continuing to stand on his head since he's already won a few games for the team already this season, which proves how important he has been, which really blends into the 2 reasons as to why I think Barcelona will win. Because 1, like I mentioned, they should. They have Napoli beat in almost every area of the field and in current form. And 2 out of the last 3 years, they've been knocked out by an Italian team in this competition. It was Juve 3 years ago, and it was surprisingly Roma 2 years ago in the Champions League semifinals. So there's no way they can let that happen again, right? I mean, at some point, they have to exorcise those demons. And as for Napoli, well, 1, the pressure's all on Barcelona because they have squandered big leads in leg 1 to get upset in leg 2, and that just proves that they have a vulnerability collectively. They've bottled some big Champions League games recently, and you don't forget that as a player and as a team, and Napoli have to push on that pressure point and make them feel it. And 2, and yes, I know people joke about this, but it's the corner kicks, the set pieces. Yes, Liverpool did them dirty from a corner last season in their 4-0 defeat, but the previous season, Roma did the same in that huge upset. And do you remember who got Roma the goal? Manolas. And guess what? He's playing with Napoli now. So as for my prediction, if Diego Maradona was in his prime, I would give Napoli half a chance. But without him, I really have to give them 0 chance, even though I had a few ideas as to how I think they could beat Barcelona because I just don't see Barca losing this. There's just no way. It's not going to happen, even if Valverde manages them poorly. Messi's going to put the team on his back like he's been doing the last few years, and they're going to get through, and that's what's going to happen. You heard it here. It's not that big of a surprise. I feel like this is the easiest one to predict. Stamp it. Anyway, that is it. I got PSG, Real Madrid, Valencia, Liverpool, Bayern, Juve, Spurs, and Barcelona going through. So am I getting all 8 right or what? Of course I am. Look at this face, look at this hair. I'm never wrong. So let me know your picks down below. And if you get them all exactly right like me, I'll pick a few of you to follow on Instagram or Twitter, which sounds pretty awesome. And I'll let you decide which platform. So good luck, and I'll see you soon. Later.